Why is Russell Wilson no longer on the Broncos, Mark?
I think that, I think sometimes when you look at statistics and people will say, well, 26 touchdowns versus 8 interceptions, they'll look at those things and say, well, he had a pretty good season. And ultimately, I get where people get confused about, what makes a successful season. And those stats would lend itself to you believing he was successful. But when you look deeper into the way he played, into just the season in general, there were so many things that were missing. And, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in football when it comes to throwing people in the middle of the field, intermediate routes. He threw more balls behind the line of scrimmage than any quarterback in football, I think since 2005. I mean, it just was when you dig deeper into the coach's film, there's so many things that are inadequate. And let's not forget, this is not only the first, this is the second team that have basically said, we're going to take a quarterback who's in his quarterbacking prime, and we're going to eat $111 million in dead cap money because we don't want to be associated with him anymore. And that's Seattle and Denver. So there's a lot of things that on the surface, when you dig deeper, that he just doesn't do very well. And ultimately, that's why he is now in Pittsburgh.
And there's a lot of sacks that he's taken as well. And I know, like, the number of times we see cutaways to Sean Payton after the sacks. But that said, it's just tough to wrap your head around the fact that Russell Wilson needs to compete for a job with a kid in his third year of his career who really hasn't proven much other than the fact he played well for Pittsburgh. And by that, I mean collegiately. And then for about, what would you say, 4 to 6 weeks at the end of his rookie season, and he's entering year 3. It's tough to wrap your head around that, Mark.
Yeah, I understand that. And I think that people look at what happened, over a decade ago with the Seattle Seahawks. Listen, in Pittsburgh, and I said this a couple of months ago when they got Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator, that's the best landing spot for Russell Wilson. You have an elite level defense like they did in Seattle. You can create a run game like Arthur Smith did in Tennessee when Ryan Tannehill took over, and obviously Derrick Henry was just an absolute beast, but they had a great offensive line as well. When you do all those things, I mean, in the play action game, the boot keep game, there's 2 types of play action. I differentiate play action. I look at the run action play action, right, which is really hard run, fake, boot keep out the backside, create a linear progression where receivers are right there, 1, 2, and 3 in your sight level. Like, that's the run action play action. Then there's a play pass where you're keeping 7 guys in protection, you're dropping back, 7-step drop, you're at about 11 yards, and you're really running 2-man routes. You post with an over, and whichever way the safety plays, if he plays the deep post, you throw the over. If he plays the over and sucks in, you throw the post. Like those are things that he can do, and he can still throw the deep ball well. But in the middle of the football field, seeing receivers in the middle of the football field, throwing with anticipation, throwing guys open, those things he never has really done well. And the last couple of years, it's been awful.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.